Nick Suzuki stays hot, getting his third goal in his last 3 games. Matheson continues the Habs' defensive scoring tear, but unfortunately, Montreal couldn't come out with the win tonight against Ottawa. We'll be breaking down this game for you. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's game reaction edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, alongside my co-host, Jesse Poirier. Reminder to hit that subscribe button right now, as always, on the road to 5,000. We just hit 4,100. Those 100 subs came fast, so help us reach that goal of 5,000. You're helping us out a lot. We know that can continue. Jesse, that game was pretty fun because, at least for the first 2 periods, because Montreal really looked like they were the better team through the first 2 periods, and a team like Ottawa, who's had Montreal's number all season, it was really great to see Montreal, again, before the third, manage to just fight back, especially with so many injuries, and show that, they can somehow still compete with some decent teams.
Yeah, and missing basically, 2, full lines, and basically, our 2 top lines, being out, I think, for the first 2 periods of this game, we were definitely the better team, keeping Ottawa to, just 7 shots about halfway through the game. Of course, the wheels kind of came off in the third, but, the scorecard isn't exactly indicative of how close this game was, Josh. We know in that third period, Suzuki on his second breakaway of the game, he had scored on his earlier attempt. If he had just able to do a carbon copy of that same play again, we're looking at a different outcome tonight.
I think so too. I think he tried to do the same thing, just blew a tire. It's unfortunate. Momentum went the other way. Ottawa managed to score twice in 47 seconds to essentially seal the game as they went up 4-2 earlier in the third, and Montreal just couldn't quite get anything going after that. But I think I want to focus on those first 2 periods, Jesse. Yeah, while the third really weren't too many great things to talk about for Montreal, there was lots to talk about in the first 2. The Habs power play looked decent early, and I will say that first goal from Ottawa was a bit demoralizing after what I thought was a for sure icing against Ottawa that was called off, and then the Habs get an icing call when I thought Drouin was the first one there. Ottawa scores off the ensuing faceoff of Montreal's zone to make it 1-0, but that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about early in the second period, Jesse, and specifically Mike Matheson. Yesterday night, his game was so noticeable, I almost want to say, because he was everywhere. He was skating so fast on offense and on defense. His ability to cover ground, getting back and going up the ice was insane, and we saw that again tonight, especially in that goal 1-on-3 on a break. He has 3 defenders in front of him, shoots it on Sogard, the young goalie for Ottawa, gets around the defense for the rebound and pots it home. I was just thoroughly impressed with Matheson tonight, Jesse, and the last few games. What are your opinions on him? And is it just me that's thinking, every single game, this guy is showing more and more to be, a true leader of this D-corps?
He's showing that. And I think the reason that we're seeing more of that now, Josh, is just he's getting back to full health, right? I think he maybe came back before being kind of fully ready. So we're seeing what a healthy Mike Matheson can do. And for me, he's so important on this team, right? He's really anchoring a really young D-corps. So I'm just really happy with what he's bringing right now. But that leads me to my next question, Josh. There's kind of been some rumors going around the league recently with trade deadline approaching, and with Matheson playing so well that there are some people talking about maybe him getting shipped out this trade deadline. Would that be something that you would want to do, or would you want to keep him on this team?
I want to keep him. Okay, so I'm going to start by saying that because I think a defenseman with that skating ability is hard to find, and yeah, he maybe hasn't quite lived up to his contract, but here's the thing. Let me preface that with no matter what, except for a very few select players, I'm not saying Mike Matheson's untouchable. If the right offer comes around and Kent Hughes is holy crap, we can get that for Mike Matheson, yeah, go for it. I do wonder how his contract would fit on another team. He's got a few years left. He's not a super low cap hit or anything. I don't think Montreal will be able to eat too much of that contract. The right opportunity comes around, sure, if a team really wants him. But Jesse, I think for now, especially for this season, don't look into trading Mike Matheson. Since he's been I guess the last month or so, I guess coming back from that second injury, he's been looking a lot better. He's been looking like a true leader, someone that brings a different dynamic to the Habs defense with his smooth skating offensively and defensively, and especially with, Caden Goulet's about to return, but with him out, it's been a breath of fresh air. I think he's such a good influence on the players around him, the young players. He's been a consistent guy, and I wouldn't really want to move him yet. What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't either, just because he's a little bit of a rarity of what we have in our decor, just with that mobility, and then also combining that with that veteran leadership. Like,
Hmm.
I think they're going to need to get a really sweet deal to be able to move him,
Yeah.
because I think they recognize those are two things that we're really missing on our decor. So it wouldn't make too much sense to get rid of that. And we're seeing the effect that he's having on this team, right?
Yeah.
Like, a great positive to take away from this game is that our defensive structure is getting so much better. And we saw that through, I don't think Martin St. Louis is too upset
No.
with this game whatsoever. And, not only the defensive structure, the team forecheck, as we're starting to see, but also the offensive output from our defensemen. That's one of
Yes.
my biggest takeaways, not just from this game, but from this month. And during the game, they did show a statistic showing that Montreal is actually number one in the league with the amount of their offense coming from their defense in goals being scored. So I think, having Justin Barron to thank, Matheson coming back, many guys have kind of stepped up, Harris, as we've seen recently as well. This has been a great development of our guys knowing when to jump into the play and really do something with it when they do.
Yeah, that was something lost a lot earlier in the year, especially when they didn't have Barron. And even when Barron first came up, he was really not used to that NHL level of physicality, even though he played a bit last year. But yeah, I think it was something like high 30s% from their defense. It was at least 10% higher than the second place team, which I think was like St. Louis or something. Montreal's defense recently has been so good at, like you said, at acknowledging when they need to pinch. Now, I will say, sometimes that has led to breaks the other way. We saw that a couple times tonight. I saw David Savard a couple times made a little pinch Kovacevic that led to breaks the other way. But none of them, I don't think, led to any goals. Maybe one. But I kind of like the gamble, especially on a Montreal team where they've really struggled to get depth scoring from their forwards, at least until somewhat recently. It's been getting a bit better. But most of the season, it's been hard for them to score past their first or second line. And the defense, when we needed them most, has stepped up in the absence of Kirby Dach, Cole Caulfield, Slavkovsky, all this stuff. They've been coming in and scoring some great goals. But Jesse, not only the defense too, I wanted to talk about Montreal's defensive play as a whole, not even just from the defense. Like you said, the defensive structure was good tonight. Other than the third period, a few snipes from Ottawa, a few screenshots. At the end of the day, this is just a game you got to take on the chin, but Montreal's forwards did a good job too. There was a penalty kill in the second period. I don't know how long Montreal was holding the puck in the offensive zone on the penalty kill. It was at least 10 or 15 seconds. And what happened right after? A Suzuki breakaway goal, smooth move. What can you say towards the whole Habs team defense, even their forwards, the Habs' ability to forecheck as well, like when they dump a puck in, really make it hard on the other team to get what they want?
Yeah, and we need to activate our defensemen in order to do that. This is the
Yeah.
new style of NHL. Is when we're forechecking, is the defensemen need to be a part of that cycle game as well. So we're asking a lot of our defensemen, right? A lot of rookie defensemen to make these decisions on the fly really isn't an easy thing to do. So for me, it's just logical though, and so indicative of a positive progression,
Yeah.
for this team, that this is really starting to happen as the season goes on. So I'm really happy to see that. And again, a great penalty kill, getting that momentum, and then that transitioning, to that beautiful breakaway for Nick Suzuki. And I just love that goal.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought he showed such patience, right? To kind of outweigh Matt Sogard, the young goalie for the Ottawa Senators, and then tucking it in on his forehand. Suzuki's definitely got to be one of the best breakaway players in the NHL. Anytime that he has that puck on his stick going down the center of the ice, there's a high probability of it going in. So I am happy to see Suzuki kind of getting back on his game as well, and seeing that transition game kind of coming together as well.
Yeah, Suzuki, like you said, on the breakaway, he's just such a menace. Sometimes I wish he'd shoot more because right after that goal, the Habs had two odd man rushes, two different 2-on-1s. One with Suzuki Anderson, one with Suzuki and RHP. And both times Suzuki tried to make the pass. And almost scored with Anderson. Kind of jumped over Harvey Pinard's stick when he did. And there was another point in the game where he kind of had a step in the slot. He looked for Anderson backdoor. The same thing happened in yesterday's game, although against Philadelphia. Although that did go in off Ivan Provorov's stick. He's looking for these passes, but I think he should just pull the trigger more. He has a nasty shot. You agree? Like, yeah, 100%. He just needs to come in and just fire it instead of always looking for the pass. But I guess when you don't have Caulfield next to you, your instincts are kind of thrown off.
It's a great takeaway, though. And that was one of my main things, kind of notes that I was taking from that first period. Is like, even though the Canadiens outshot the Ottawa Senators in that first period, you have to agree that the Ottawa Senators had the better scoring opportunities.
Yeah.
Because they were pushing things to the front of the net, and at least they were having people in front.
Yeah.
When they were doing that, we were kind of looking for the perfect pass all the time, and we were getting great opportunities, right? Of course, in hindsight, and a couple of times I'm saying like, oh, why aren't they just shooting that? But of course, if they're making that pass and it's getting tipped in, it's great. But I think that same philosophy on 5-on-5, but most importantly on the power play, that we need to be a little bit more selfish and just take that shot. I think as the game progressed, that we got a little bit better at that. Maybe it's something I think they definitely talked about during the intermission when we're having some power plays. Hoffman, definitely good for a rip, kind of right away off the power play. Like, that's what I want to see. You need 1-2 looks. You need to shoot it. And just in general, I just like to see a little bit more of that mindset from our team.
Yeah, I think so too. It could lead to a few more goals, and that's kind of what Montreal needs in some games like this. But hey, I mean, as we all know, when it comes down to it at this point in the season, a loss like that is not the worst thing in the world. I mean, I don't want to see Montreal lose games. I know you don't either, Jesse. It's more fun when we're here chatting about an awesome win for Montreal, but at this point in the season, the playoffs seem to be completely out of the picture, of course, and all we can do now is enjoy the progression of the team. If it leads to a better draft pick, so be it. Florida lost yesterday to Buffalo as well, so those odds are going up and up every single day, but this is just one of those games, like we said earlier, you got to take on the chin. Ottawa got the better scoring chances in this game, while Montreal had played them for a couple periods. That lack of maybe shooting, lack of capitalization on opportunities cost them. 5-2 loss. I think we just got to move on to the next one. But that'll do it for this game reaction edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Help us hit 5,000 subs. Almost halfway to 10K. Can't believe I'm saying that, but we really have you guys all to thank. I'm Josh Gosse for my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.